I was looking for a way to pay for college, and both of my mom and my stepdad were in the National Guard at the time. And they said, this is a good way to pay for school. It varies by state if it's the Guard, but Minnesota at the time, which is where I'm from, had half tuition reimbursement plus a partial GI bill. So, that got me half of my tuition, paid for my books and a few other things. And then when I tested to get into it, I tested high in the sciences. So at that time, I was initially looking at pre-med, but then I'd done all the speech and theater things. So I was kind of wanting to stay in the science, but also missing the speaking part of it. And so the military, of what they made available to me, I ended up taking weather because I love the outdoors. So I like camping and hiking and all those things. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do something outdoors, at least knowing the weather will be great. I never thought it would be my career. So the weather, they put me through their weather school, which was a total of about 10 months. But instead of college, where you're also taking other classes, it was weather 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So a little bit of a different route there. And then I did go back and get the communications degree. So that's how I got into it. And then I liked it, and I had the communications degree, and I started on the journalism track and ended up merging the two together. So that's really, it was a very decisive thing in my life to both get into the Guard, and then I ended up in weather because clearly I liked it and ended up choosing it as a career.
So your weather career took off, but your military career took off as well, right?
Right. So I'll be honest, as a woman in the military, especially I got in back in the 90s, not always smooth sailing. I faced some challenges in terms of people treating me equally as a woman, but I always thought to myself, I have younger sisters. You can either leave, which is a completely valid response, when you're facing discrimination, or you can stay and fix things. So I liked the job and decided to be the person that stayed and fixed things. So even over the course of my career, when I was with the Hurricane Hunters, I built a diversity and inclusion program. I'm a commander now, so I make sure everyone has a level playing field, but always really loved the job and have really liked the fact that I have been able to improve things for people behind me.
What was it like flying through hurricanes when you were a hurricane hunter?
Oh, it was awesome. If you're a weather nerd anyway, and then you get to be right in the middle of it with Mother Nature at her worst sometimes, just an amazing experience.
Do you feel like the training that you got better prepared you for a career in weather?
So versus a traditional 4-year degree, what was unique about the military is you were actually made to hit the ground running in terms of being a forecaster. So it wasn't all theory and tests and things of that nature. We actually had live labs where an instructor would come in and check our forecast and verify our forecast. And they would pretend someone was a pilot and they had to get a weather briefing, or just a variety of scenarios where we had to hit the ground running. So I think that was something that really prepared me in a different way versus traditional meteorologists, because, and I love all my meteorologist friends, but the ones that I knew who had just gotten out of a normal 4-year program didn't actually always have the forecasting experience in college or briefing experience, being comfortable talking to people and actually helping with that communication part of the forecast. So I think the military had a very unique edge to it with preparing people to actually do the job and not just learning how to do the job.
Did it also prepare you on a broader spectrum because of your travel, because of your experience? You understood the entire world's weather systems rather than just the one spot you grew up in?
Yes. So not just the military, because yes, I have forecast in Europe. I worked at the European Weather Center for a while, Saudi Arabia. So I've seen, shamals and huboobs and things like that the average person hasn't done. civilian wise, I also tried to do the same thing. So I worked in Tornado Alley for a while. I worked in lake effect snow for a while. So I flew into hurricanes for a while. So it's really been interesting to have, between my civilian career and my military career, a background that's allowed me to personally see and forecast almost every type of weather.
Do you have any advice for young folks perhaps looking to get into the career and maybe want to take a less traditional route?
I think every person needs to do what works for them. So whether it's the military or a 4-year degree or even a trade school, if you're not into a 4-year degree, I think we need to respect that there are different paths to get to the same point. And so whatever works for a person to get to that goal that they want to reach is entirely respectable. And that there's options you might not know about, that you should never close a door because you don't know what might be out there. So the fact that I worked in all those different weather types really gave me an advantage, for example, when I was at the Weather Channel with you. And I didn't know about the hurricane hunters when I first got into the military, but I had been at the same base as the hurricane hunters for a course and found out about them. And then probably 5 years later, when I was looking for a job, said, oh, there was that thing. Maybe I could try and go do that. So I think the important takeaways are, work your own path. Not everyone has the same path, and however you get there is fine. And 2, don't close any doors along the way, because I've known people that have said, well, I'm only doing this, and they don't even realize about all these other great options. So just be open-minded, because sometimes great things will come along that you never knew were even a possibility.